Hi, this is Stan Fitzgerald with Veterans for America First. In this interview, I'm also representing our newly formed partnership, the Chaplain Corps. The Chaplain Corps will operate as an independent entity, not connected with the nonprofit Veterans for America First. A lot of our missions at the Chaplain Corps will be the same. In fact, it's going to be based on our faith pillar, which Admiral Kubik founded, and we'll be doing a lot with faith-based operations, hence the Chaplain Corps. But we're going to get involved with a lot of projects that are good for America and good for our local areas. And I have here Shane Miller, who's working on some legislation as a private citizen that's going to help veterans in the state of Georgia. So I'm going to turn this over to Shane, and Chaplain Corps and Veterans for America First are going to back him on this legislation.
Thanks so much, Stan. What a great honor it is to be back with Veterans for America First. As you know, I was endorsed by them in my last campaign for election in House District 64, and they went over and beyond backing me, supporting me, really getting the word out about the campaign and that sort of thing. But today I want to talk to you directly about a legislative issue that we know is a problem here in Georgia and all across the great United States of America that we live in, and that's our veterans. Our veterans have fought, they have died, they have sacrificed, they have given their all to protect us and guarantee our freedoms here in this great country that we live in. And they're underappreciated, undervalued, and disrespected. And I think it's time right now for us to do something about it in a meaningful way. And what we're proposing here is we begin writing legislation earlier this year to help veterans. And a lot of these guys are coming home from Iraq and Afghanistan and overseas deployments where they've seen military combat. You know, they're coming back with PTSD. They're running into depression problems. And mainly, a lot of the problems that they're having is getting back into the civilian-based workforce. I've sat down with some legislators here in Georgia, and we've got a phenomenal piece of legislation that we'll be putting forward in the upcoming session this year, that we're super excited about it. I want to give you some statistical background on it. And as of 2017, which is the latest numbers that we could possibly retrieve from the database here in Georgia, we have over 697,000 veterans here in Georgia. I don't know if many people are aware of that, but that number actually constitutes 8% of Georgia's population. And these guys, men and women, are coming home in a form where they're not widely accepted back into the workforce. And this legislation is intended to change that. A lot of people have heard me talk over the past couple of years about changing the perspective of how we look at law enforcement and military, and this bill's going to do that. I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about this legislation, Stan. And like I said, the primary goal is to bring veterans back into the workforce. Well, as you know, the military veterans are looked upon as, if they've got PTSD or if they're suffering with depression, that they're unworkable. And that's not really the case. They need the job security to get them out of the depression, to help alleviate some of the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, to actually get their mind back into doing something productive for society, rather than just sitting on the house and thinking about ungodly things like murdering themselves. This is something that is really near and dear to my heart. Just not too recently, a combat veteran had came home, good friend of mine, known him about 20 years. He had been home about 6 months and found out that his wife was cheating on him while she was gone. And before it was all said and done, he ended up putting a gun to his head and pulling the trigger. And this is tragic. This is tragic. And his wife tells me it started because of the depression of not being able to come back and go back to work and support his family and be a responsible, productive member of society. So that's what this bill is targeted at. Let me go over a few things here with you. We have 187,000 veterans receiving VA compensation right now. Whether it's 20% or 100% disability, they're still receiving some type of VA compensation. If we can get these guys back into the workforce, not only does it help the veterans itself, it helps the state in saving money in VA expenses. The way that we're going to do this, Stan, is pretty much a very common sense method. We're looking at We want to encourage and entice small businesses to not only hire veterans, but to seek them out. And a lot of people have asked me through the course of writing this legislation, Shane, how are you going to entice the small business to reach out to veterans and seek them out? Well, it's very simple. We all know that money makes the world go around. So what we've proposed in the legislation is that if they bring in 25% of their workforce as military veterans, we want to give them a transferable tax credit. And I want to make note here, Stan, I said tax credit, not a tax cut. A tax cut everybody gets. A tax credit is something that you earn. I believe that everyone involved should have to earn the tax credit. It shouldn't just be given to anybody. You have to earn it. How do you earn it? By hiring veterans. Now, once they've reached a certain percentage of veterans into the workforce, say they bring in 50%, they've earned themselves. Now, these are round numbers here. We still have to get with House Ways and Means to make sure that all the numbers are viable. But we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $15,000 to $20,000 if they bring in 50% of their workforce as veterans. Now, a lot of small businesses, such as myself, I own a small remodeling business, and my tax deficit is never more than $15,000, Stan. So if you were to give me a $20,000 tax credit, we could transfer that to a larger company for liquid cash. That would allow the small business owners, such as myself, to be able to expand and hire more veterans. We could buy the equipment that we need because we have liquid cash. We could finance the funding of paying the employees because we have the liquid cash. And I think that's going to benefit the entire economy as well, because not only are we bringing in employees, as myself can tell you, finding employees that are reliable today is like pulling teeth. We can't overpay guys to get them to come to work and keep the job because, unfortunately, the administration and the White House thinks that it's okay for everybody to just sit at home and live on their couch. Well, unfortunately, that's not how life works. So we've got to get these guys back into the workforce. And by hiring veterans, not only are you doing a good service to your country by helping take care of vets, you're also benefiting yourself. These veterans that have served 10, 15, 20 years in the United States military, these guys come in with a special work ethic that is unlike you'll find in the civilian world. These guys will run circles around most employees that I employ in my company right now simply because they have a work ethic. That's something that's missing today, and it'd be beneficial for it to be back into the world of small business. Now, boosting small business with this bill is very simple. We bring in a bunch of veterans who have a good work ethic. Now production goes up. Now profitability goes up. Plus, we get a tax credit that's transferable for liquid cash. This benefits large business as well, all across the great state of Georgia. Large businesses that come in and buy these tax credits from small business owners. Say you have a $20,000 tax credit and you don't need the tax credit. You're going to pay your taxes regardless, and say your tax credit is way less than that, and you can afford to pay it. You take that $20,000 tax credit, sell it to a larger corporation. For instance, we sell it to IBM. We sell it to IBM for $12,000. Now, IBM makes an $8,000 profit in tax credit. The small business gains $12,000 in liquid cash, which allows them to do all the things that we described earlier, expand and hire more veterans. All in all, this bill right here is the most common sense bill I've seen in the Georgia State Legislature since the heartbeat bill.
And there you have it, folks. Common sense, good work, research, well-spoken, well-presented. I believe Shane has some meetings with some legislators. We can't name them yet, but this is a no-brainer. Hopefully they take it up and get it moving through the legislators. At Veterans for America First, our social media page shows 310,000 followers, but combined we reach over 1 million. And that's 1 million people that are backing this legislation in Georgia. Also with the Chaplain Corps, again, separate entity, no connection legally to the nonprofit, but this is also part of our faith-based initiative. If people can't work, they get depressed. And if, church or whatever your faith is, helps fight that, and it saves lives. And it helps jobs, help them get back into society, saves lives, because then they function as a normal human being. And Shane, we applaud you for this work you're doing, and you have the full backing of both organizations here going forward with your work.
Thank you so much, Stan. We appreciate all the work that Veterans for America First does. And of course, we're always at service for our veterans. And if the organization's ever needed anything, we're just a phone call away. And that goes for any veteran that's listening to this. If you need help, we encourage you to reach out, talk to someone. We don't want to see anything bad happen to our veterans. We're here for you. We love you. We support you, and we always will.
And in closing, I just want to mention this is a nonpartisan effort, or should I say bipartisan. There's going to be people on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans, and both sides of the America First aisle, the America First and non-America First Republicans, whatever you want to call them. A lot of people are going to be working in unison on this for the good of veterans, which it was meant to be, that we work together on projects like this. All right, we thank you for your time coming on the show, and hopefully we'll help you get the message out, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for the opportunity, Stan. Y'all be blessed.
You too, Shane.